Yeah, the Thresh certainly good individually against the Jarvan, but OMG perhaps trying to think more holistically about their whole comp. Don't need to pick up a jungler early since top esports already have their jungler locked in. Choosing the Nautilus as a first pick, I will say, not something I was necessarily expecting coming into today, but at least they could get an AD carry alongside it.
Yeah, may make the decision to sort of leave it till a bit later and try and, because obviously it's very non-committal to take like an engaged support and a jungler here. I definitely think like Xin Zhao is like the standout to me in my mind that they could end up prioritizing. Actually going for the Poppy though, so we've seen a couple of bans on this champion. Haven't seen it picked up too much, but just very good at mitigating engage pressure, right? Especially against a Jarvan, you go for that EQs, you can just interrupt it easily. Can slam you into your Cataclysm as well. So I expect this to go jungle, but is still technically a flex coming out from OMG.
Yeah, we have seen Karsa playing this in the LPL already. You can understand the pick, right? With how much mobility is in the game these days as well. It feels like Poppy is an inevitable pick in a lot of situations. Set going to be locked in here for top esports. Very likely that will go up towards the top side for Zoom. We've seen Zoom play that. Not just this split. We've seen him play it once this split, but historically in his career, it's been a favorite pick of his. Whether or not that goes top lane, though, we've seen Knight play it over the years. We've seen it in the support role. We'll have to wait and see. But that Viktor's still open, and Knight will lock it in.
Yeah, oh, and I would love this from Creme. Honestly, I feel like with Viktor, you want to pick something that can punish it. He actually trades well into a lot of mages, and honestly, in LeBlanc in the 1v1, he actually trades pretty positively in that matchup. But it's about the setup, right? You land the change, you have to follow up from your team. You know you have a Nautilus who can already roam up to apply pressure, and it allows that setup. And once you burn a Viktor's flash, it's just easy pickings. But looks like the decision's going to be in the direction they want to go for a bit more of a scaling mage in the Orianna. Now, for sort of bans at this point, I feel like OMG can really look to target supports. You know that the set might be a flex, but you want to kind of try to limit it. I mean, they can't necessarily use that flexibility that well. But also AD carry pool, right? OMG get first choice coming out of the ban phase, so any AD carry bans are going to really hit top esports harder.
All right, well, speaking of AD carry bans, that Caitlyn already gone off the board. It's answered by a Samira. Abel's kind of pocket pick that really we don't see anyone else playing in the LPL. But Jinx still open, Aphelios still open. These have been the two premier picks across the league so far. We'll see if they're going to be banned away. But Aux, I want to kind of recap what's been locked in so far, because on the side of top esports, feels pretty self-explanatory, right? You've got a Set and you've got a Jarvan. These guys are going in. But from the side of OMG, this is a bit more of a weird composition. Like, what are you expecting them to try and finish this one out with?
Yeah, so I think it's strong backline AD carry, something like a Jinx would obviously make a lot of sense. Like, you have a really tanky front line with the Poppy. She absorbs a ton of damage. Shanji can pretty much pick any sort of top lane in the current meta that can fit in, and then you sort of play around the fact that you have a strong front to back. You have decent protection for your AD carry, right? Orianna shields, the shockwave for disruption, the Poppy. So I feel like the Jinx makes complete sense in that regard, and it just makes you have a really solid team fight where the emphasis is on top esports to close the distance on the Jinx and try and take her out.
To see, I'm just saying, Rumble still currently open. That could be an option for Shanji in that top side if he finds the right matchup. But over to the side of top esports, hovering is Ziggs right now, which can do well into these pushing AD carries. But the Aphelios is the lock-in in the end. This matchup, folks, we just get it every single game. And Zoom brings out the Ornn. This is definitely a pick he is more than accustomed to after 2020.
And I feel like that's the tools you need, right? They have so many answers to this Jinx. You have the long-range Ornn engage, the Cataclysm, you have the Set, who if they can get on top has all the CC, and then the burst damage available to the Viktor and Aphelios means they have answers that they can get in range. For OMG, I feel like, you know, having a potential other threat in the top lane can be really valuable in this situation, having something that can be disruptive in the fights. And looks like Shanji's going to go for that Aatrox, pretty comfortable in the top lane matchup, but also when things are diving, when there's a big mix of melee champions, he's really going to flourish.
And just, I mean, the Set, importantly, going down to Zhuo here, not going to be that the top lane Set that we discussed earlier on. It is going to be the support alongside Aphelios here, good into those hard engaged supports like the Nautilus. But crucially, you know, coming into top esports versus OMG, I was kind of expecting early game skirmishing from Xiaopeng. I was expecting a lot of action, but looking at these drafts, all I see is scaling, Orcs.
Yeah, both sides have a big, healthy helping of scaling. And as a result, the team fight's going to be very exciting. It's really going to come down to who has any advantages accrued, but also sort of the execution in them. But I feel like when both teams have so many scaling aspects on their composition, I'm really looking at what the junglers can do in the early game. Jarvan able to have quite a bit of early impact. Poppy maybe less so, but definitely can find angles in, and they can start to snowball, right? If you get Abel ahead in the Jinx, alternatively you get JackeyLove ahead, that can really make the difference and sort of amplify one side scaling. But overall, I feel like these two teams are sort of pretty much matched head to head on the sort of way the curve will go throughout this game.
Yeah, that's one of the exciting things when you're in a game like this and you have to talk about scaling. Well, both teams scale exceptionally well. So it's going to be down to the execution in these fights. And, you know, it's something that in terms of sheer player value, you'd probably lean the way of top esports, right? You've got Knight, you've got JackeyLove, you've got Zoom on this team. These guys are incredibly proficient players, but we've been lacking coordination from the squad. We've been lacking that decision-making that we've seen in the past. And so that'll be the big question for top esports coming into this one. Whereas for OMG, I mean, there are a lot more questions. There's a lot of questions just on how well will this team do in the late game, because a lot of the wins that we've seen from them are snowballing the early game. This is a very different style of OMG.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see what Aki looks to do, right, on the Poppy, because as we said before, you don't have as much agency as a Jarvan. You can't just walk in a lane, use your flag and drag combo and set up for a gank. If they're against a wall, great, but honestly quite reliant on potential setup from the teammates. So I think Aki has got a bit of a harder time in this early game than Xiaopeng does, and we'll be interested to see how he sort of mitigates that pressure, facilitates his lane, because, you know, as we said, a lot of scaling carries. If you start to let your carries get exposed, get isolated, get punished, that's where the game can really kind of fall out of your control.
Yeah, by the looks of things, we're going to be starting on opposite sides here from our two junglers. Aki hovering towards this red buff right now. Whereas Xiaopeng, actually, no, he's going to be on the blue buff. I was looking at the set for some reason on the minimap. Both pathing down towards that bottom side, but I'm not anticipating a huge amount of action. Might just be a full clear kind of situation. I want to talk about this top lane matchup, though. Because Shanji, he has not played the Aatrox so far this split. But across his career, Aatrox is actually his most played champion. People think of him for the Rumble, for these big flashy picks. But the Aatrox has been his bread and butter. It's been his go-to. He has a 50% win rate on it, but he has 34 games played over the course of his career. And I feel like Aatrox is one of those champions where if you're proficient, you can have such a drastic impact on every game you play.
Absolutely. Like, if you're finding your way into fights, because one of the big things is that he's not the best at closing gaps, right? He's got that tiny little dash, which is barely like a hop. Obviously gets the movement speed, but if you find
Creme.
your way in, go for a happy trade.
Yeah, Creme, you're not winning this trade, man. He keeps on going, though, but yeah, I don't know about that one, Creme. That was very aggressive trading that did not work out.
Yeah, went maybe a bit excessively there. And obviously, Viktor, very strong level 1, but also had that level 2 advantage. And now Xiaopeng gonna look to go potentially a little bit aggressive here. Aki still reasonably healthy, but ideally wants his level 3 before he goes toe-to-toe with Jarvan. So
oh, he's smited early. He's smited early. Xiaopeng's moving in. Is he going to be able to get vision? It's on 88 HP. The smite comes down. Level 3 versus level 3, but Aki's low on HP. He's trying to escape W to get himself out. That steadfast presence saving him for now. Zhuo over the wall, but will not commit to anything. Xiaopeng here, remember that smite was used, but Aki's second smite is available here. This could go the way of OMG. If they're able to get the Gromp, this is just a pure positive play. The Gromp almost resetting as Xiaopeng is going to desperately try and get this smite. Aki's over the wall, and he won't be able to get it. Xiaopeng takes the Gromp away.
Yeah, I like the invade, right? The critical thing is the EQ connected before Aki had his W available to block it, but they are looking for a dive here.
Oh no, Creme, you're in big trouble. Flash force, and actually flash followed by Zhuo. First blood going into the pocket of Xiaopeng. Flashes away from the tower. Aki low on HP, but will escape. But top esports, we wanted decision making. That's exactly what we're getting.
And impacting the early lanes, and this all is a knock-on effect of Knight coming out successfully in those trades. Creme over trading, ends up low, ends up vulnerable, and top esports are able to follow through. Aki's there, but can't really do anything to keep them locked under tower beyond just the headbutt. And really, it's just kind of the setup in the situation, right? Creme half HP before the fight even starts. If he's healthier, maybe Aki could potentially do a little more here, but he's just dead so quickly. And as a result, Xiaopeng can just flash out before the second tower hit even starts to charge. And that's the thing, right? One more tower hit and Xiaopeng would have died. So it really would have been a difference maker. All comes back to that early trading where Creme just kind of overstepped.
Yeah, Creme, unfortunately, not getting the best of the situation, being punished by the whole squad of Top Esports. And this is one of the crucial things that we need to talk about with Top Esports is, you know, Zhuo still relatively new to the team. You know, still he's been on the team for a year, but when you think about Top Esports, he's one of the newer players. Xiaopeng stepping in just this year, and it feels like already these two players are working together beautifully in situations like that.
And I think it's really important having a support player who can follow your jungler when it is a jungler like Xiaopeng, right? He isn't the sort just to play the passive farming role. He is very aggressive, and I think having that agency is vital, and having a support who's facilitating that is really important, because that play doesn't work if it's just Xiaopeng. They wouldn't be able to get a kill. The flash, sure, but potentially a turnaround if they went any further. But the fact that they bring the extra member really makes all the difference there.
And it's right from the blue invade that we saw, right? As soon as Xiaopeng starts to step towards Aki in that jungle, Zhuo starts to move over. And it's crucial, and we talk about that jungle matchup again. What did we say before? That Aki kind of wants to play it slow in the early game, and it's the total opposite for Xiaopeng. Well, so far this game, Xiaopeng's style working out very nicely for him as they just clear vision. Drake onto the map here, and it's Infernal to start us off. Xiaopeng trying to get some deep vision. He does not want to leave Aki alone. He wants to punish Aki for everything, but look at this, hiding in the dark. Xiaopeng moves in. I don't think Cold has actually seen him just yet. I think he's still invisible, but there we go. Ward over.
No.
Xiaopeng's been spotted. But here we go. Knight moving over as well. Top Esports. We said that these are two scaling comps, but I'm not sure they mind too much. I think they're quite happy to go for some plays. Cold takes a bit of a hit, but the dive will be called off. Able to clear the wave. And it means Xiaopeng has to back away, but Creme is behind the team, and maybe Xiaopeng's gone too far. Cold flashes over to get the engage. Zhuo trying to body block for his jungler. JackeyLove moving in as well. As Creme is just being bullied by Knight. The shockwave comes out, but the damage just isn't there. Knight might just find a solo kill on the side of the fight, and Creme is being served like a pudding.
Massive overstep from Creme there, and you could see that OMG were trying to respond, right? They saw Top Esports, they had the priority on Knight. Top Esports don't go for the dive because, you know, Knight's low mana, and honestly, 4v3 dive against the Poppy, kind of a rough take, I'll be honest, but it just ends up messy, right? They try and go for Xiaopeng, and he actually manages to path around the traps. Abel's over the wall. It was just a little bit ambitious, and then we see Creme just caught out. No flash available. The damage is there from the Viktor. It's just messy, and you can see what Xiaopeng just walk around the traps. Like, look how close he is when they arm, and he just steps around them. Abel over the wall can't follow up, and then Creme, he's like, I need to move down, I need to help my team. But it's like, you just walk straight into Knight, and Knight is very happy to take this solo kill. Obviously, the Chaos Storm has that consistent damage, so you can easily 100-0 someone.
Oh, Zhuo looking for an engage on the bottom side again. I don't think he'll find it for the time being. Okay, I'm getting too excited now. But the way that Top Esports play, you just always anticipate the plays. This time it's up to the top side as Zoom calls the Forge God himself, gets the knock-up onto Shanji. But with the movement speed coming out from that World Ender, Shanji will be okay. And actually looks for a re-engage onto Zoom. Wave will be pushing towards Shanji, but actually he's just going to clear that one up anyway.
Yeah, the thing with Jarvan is he's quite burst heavy. If he doesn't have his ultimate, that's reduced even more so. And you need more than just burst to take out a full HP Aatrox with ultimate. Similar for Ornn, right? A lot of burst damage, not the best to sustain, so we aren't really going to be able to follow up more than that. It's just a trade of ultimates, just fishing, but I think Shanji very comfortable there. And he's been fine, right, in this matchup. We've seen him consistently able to just build up an advantage, have priority, got a bit of a farm lead. But for the rest of OMG, it's a little bit trickier. Now they are looking towards this Herald on the top side. Aki's already started it, but Top Esports are here looking to contest mid priority and then likely move over.
Yeah, they are just about going to get priority, but they're running out of time. I think OMG might just be able to take this one away, and Top Esports decided just to reset. They're not going to contest on the Herald in the end. Maybe could have traded a Drake there. That Drake is still on the map. Neither team's even sniffed at it for the time being, as OMG will grab that Herald. And now they'll move up to this top side. Zoom, king of the weak side back in 2020. Can he still maintain that title? He's alone in the world, and he will just dip by the looks of things. He'll be able to survive at very least, respecting what OMG are bringing to that top side. But this just might be a tower taken by OMG here, with Abel hammering away on the tower with Aki, the Herald in pocket. This is going to be a massive influx of gold, and Creme has his flash available again, so the play mid doesn't work out. Top Esports massively lose out on this trade.
Yeah, and you made the call about the dragon, right? They could have gone for the dragon. They could have leaned towards the other side of the map and applied some pressure there. But Top Esports seem really just lazy about what they're doing. They steal a couple of... I think they stole the blue buff, maybe. That was about it. And then they go for the mid gank. Sure, you get a flash, but... comparatively, Abel is getting injected with gold. The tower bot, look how healthy it is still.
The race, the race of can we get one plate before the tier 2 goes down on the other side of the map? Oh my days. OMG just out macroing Top Esports comfortably at this point. This is kind of shocking to see, honestly. This is not what you would expect coming into the game, but fair play to OMG showing up here, making the right decisions and punishing the bad decision making from Top Esports.
The inactivity, right? And that's something we talked about going into this series, the indecision of Top Esports, something that typically costs them later in the game, struggling to close things out. But it's not even late in the game. This is early game, and you know they're finally going to start up the dragon. They should be able to get this before OMG arrive, but this is still so late. You're giving so much time for OMG to reset, get back on the map. You've only taken 2 plates spot, and already Abel 500 gold up, 600 gold actually in the matchup. It just feels like you're giving over 3 advantages to the enemy team.
Now, I don't want to say anything too controversial, but I'm starting to think maybe Casa or 369 was the shot caller for Top Esports. Because I'm not going to lie, the mechanical play is still exceptional, but when it comes to playing the map, Top Esports have been all over the place so far this split. And like, look individually, like Knight is up 20 CS. He's got that solo kill on Creme during that last fight. Like, we've got really good players on this roster, don't get me wrong, but it feels like when it comes to playing as a team and working out where they need to be on the map, I think Carson must have been calling the shots, because this feels like a totally different sport.
It's so important in the current meta. I mean, for the past couple of years, right, we used to have that sort of the game back in the day where individual prowess was really all you needed. Just having better individuals could carry you so far. But over the years, we've seen a change in the game where team play is so much more vital. And obviously part of it is people just understand the game better, but you can't just rely on outskilling your opponents unless there is a massive gap between the skill. And really for OMG, as much as Creme might be struggling, he is still a competent mid laner. And if you give his team gold, I'm sure he'll be able to show up later on. So now OMG able to be manage a 1k gold lead. We'll see what they look for on the bot side of the map. They are trying to set up their able, ready, and available.
Shanji knows the spot that Zoom is in. Drops a crying Gnar at him. He's 20 CS up, or he's 10 CS up in that top side right now. And Zoom's like, well, I'm going to freeze this all day. I'm just going to sit here next to my in him. You want to stay for this one? Well, you got to really overextend. But they both know that the rest of Top Esports are not going to get involved in this one. Although, as I say that, Knight starts to move over. Do they have the damage to bring down the World Ender himself? Bit of damage out from Knight. It'll proc the ultimate from Shanji, and that's all they're going to get.
He just gets so much movement speed, just flies out, and really, that wasn't the setup to chase him down. They still force something, and now Shanji has to be a bit more respectful, but it also is the cost of moving Knight and Xiaopeng over. OMG are now aware they can go for a little bit more aggressive vision. You saw Aki pushing up, but actually, the main thing here is just getting called to reset, pick up some more wards. And we kind of look, you know, in the next couple of minutes, we have that second Rift Towel coming up. Oh, Creme.
Oh, great steadfast presence from Aki. Xiaopeng gets destroyed, but actually, Creme's going to go down anyway. Knight just has so much damage that even it looked so one-sided for OMG to start it off, but it just doesn't matter. It's a 1-for-1, and that's mid laner for jungler. So ultimately, Top Esports get the priority in that mid lane off the back of the play.
But critically, still a minute and a half until that Herald. They don't really achieve anything by killing Creme. And Creme, his flash is coming up in a few seconds. Xiaopeng has just burned his, so I think OMG can be happy with that. And you're kind of seeing the value of the posse pick, right? Jarvan comes over the wall, instantly slammed into it again, and we'll get that replay. I think the critical thing is they actually take a long time to kill off Xiaopeng, but the interrupts there, knocked in the wall, but he...
Creme in melee range.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe repositioning could have been done there. A little bit of question mark, but either way, the outcome of the fight is OMG are kind of fine with that. And now Creme has flash. When there does end up being a next fight, the Cataclysm won't be as effective. Ideally, he would be in melee range when that happens. But...
he literally walked in. He's like, oh, you're going to Chaos Storm? Let me get you some value on that, buddy. Yeah, I don't know. Bit questionable. Creme, I'm going to be totally honest, not having the greatest game I've ever seen from him. But, you know, everyone has bad games. Everyone has bad games. It happens.
And I think the thing we sort of talked a little bit about, and I think he has proven himself, but there were still questions coming in the split, is this is not the meta that Creme really flourished on last year, right? He was playing so many picks that sort of really felt like he was on home on. I mean, Akali is still strong in the current meta, but a lot of the other picks we saw him taking,
Kiana and things.
Kiana, things like just things like that in the sort of essence of aggressive mid lane picks, we don't really see as much of compared to the mages, right? We're in a mage meta. Orianna definitely fits the T, but Creme not looking as comfortable as maybe he did in summer last year.
Cold just going to start a fight here, goes straight onto Zhuo, forces a flash out early on. Chaos not ticking onto the team, though. Cold low on HP, but there's one pick for OMG. Xiaopeng gets out, but Abel chasing down Zaku slightly wide, but Aki flashing forward. That'll be a double kill. Abel grabbing two, or grabbing one for himself as he goes down. Answers with his own life here, and OMG getting chased away. Shockwave going to come through in a second, but JackeyLove gets a double. Knight versus the world. Can he finish these health bars off? Flashes forward, gets cold, but goes down. This Shanji cleans up the fight.
And it's still a win for OMG, but man, Knight and JackeyLove really saved that one, turning it around and getting 3 exit kills. It could have been super heavily in favor of OMG if they weren't able to pull that one off, but they definitely deliver to answer back. However, Creme now 4-3-1 in the Orianna, picking up a ton of gold there. And you can see the power of this Poppy and it disrupting these fights. The headbutt into the wall, really valuable, but also just the fact that you can pop your W and the Jarvan is rendered pretty useless as a result. And it's just confidence here from Cold, right? Engage on the support who's isolated. We have members, we're ready to go. And it really feels like Poppy Esports just weren't ready for this initially.
Yeah, great shockwave to start it off as well. And Creme getting himself some nice gold there. Creme now on 4 kills off the back of all of this. So very, very positive for OMG here. And just as we were criticizing Creme, he manages to get a huge influx of gold for himself. Now Drake up once again. Top Esports got the first one of the game, and Zoom is here this time. Shanji going to be trying to position to force Top Esports away here, and we could well have a 50-50. Smite is in, they go. Zhuo starting this one off. Shanji having to get away and actually just goes down. The front line is gone, but the 3-man shockwave on the back line from Creme. Can they finish it off? Because Abel on this Jinx firing away with the rocket. It's a big rocket. No, the zap. Not quite enough to finish off the kill. The rocket on cooldown already. Zhuo will fall, though. That's a double for Abel, and it's enough. It's only a support and a jungler, but it's... What? I was going to say it's enough. It almost wasn't. They do get the Drake in the end.
Playing it down to the wire there. The critical thing I have to say is Abel not being threatened, right? Going into that fight, no flash available for the Jinx. You have a Jarvan, you have an Ornn. This should be easy. It should be simple, but they don't manage to find that backline access. Abel really positioned himself well. And then when it comes to that extended fight, lethal tempo fully stacked is so good for the Jinx. Just finding the momentum. We'll see that sort of come out here. So it's the front line being targeted, right? Zhuo goes for Shanji. We see that initial big mix of damage coming in, but look at Abel's positioning on the backside, just consistently hitting targets, not being challenged. The Cataclysm's used on Creme, but he is the one member who has the flash available, so he manages to stay alive. And now Abel, fully stacked lethal tempo. No one can step up to him. No one can get in range of him without just getting decimated.
Yeah, feels impossible for... I mean, this is ultimately one of the big problems with Aphelios versus Jinx, right? You struggle to get in range a lot of the time. It feels like Abel is just so far back in these fights, just hammering away. And Jinx already on 2 items now. The Kraken Slayer, the Rapid Fire Cannon. It's not going to get any easier for the side of Top Esports to get on top of him. And also, as you mentioned before, the steadfast presence from Aki can just keep Abel so safe on that backside. But Aki, speaking of, we'll start this Herald off, and the rest of OMG moved up. And once again, this feel like more and more of these objectives going towards OMG. Unless Xiaopeng can find a miracle smite, the rest of Top Esports are actually going to commit here. The TP coming through. We've got another 5v5 on our hands. It feels like we're in the late game already. Call of the Forge God on 3, off to the side here. Looking for the smite, looking for the eye of the Herald. Cold, the first one to go down. JackeyLove with 1 kill, but he whiffs the ulti. Shockwave onto 2 again. Creme is on point with these ultis this game. And now Shanji chasing down the side of Top Esports. Another double for Abel as OMG are cleaning house. Knight pulled back in, knocked back up, and Shanji wants blood. He will not let the Chinese mid laner escape as he tries to chase him down, but Zhuo there to protect his mid laner. No, he's not. Shanji does not care.
Manages to clean it up, and it's just a massive win for OMG. able to once again keep the backline safe in Creme. He had a rough laning phase, right? We're critical of him. He is really stepping up in these team fights. The shockwaves have been on point, and OMG are playing this one to a T. 4.5k gold lead, Herald in hand, and we'll get that replay. And honestly, I think the critical thing is look at top esports focus, right? Abel and Creme on the back line, they get the Ornn ult, but other than that, the focus is completely on this front line. And look at the positioning. JackeyLove basically in melee range, perfect setup for this Orianna shockwave, and Creme and Abel are untouched. It's only at the very end of the fight do we get this cataclysm, which is essentially just locking them in and not really threatening them in any meaningful way. And I think top esports are just approaching this completely wrong. You have to deal with the Jinx. The Jinx must die, as must the Orianna if you're going to win the fight. Putting damage into Aki is meaningless.
I feel like, you know, everyone always refers to Vigar's event horizon as the baby cage. I feel like that cataclysm was the baby cage there. They're just penned in. They're not allowed out of this little area. They can play with their blocks in here. Not allowed to do anything else. And Creme's like, he threw all of the toys out of the pram, shockwaves onto 3 people and wins the fight anyway. It's like, I don't know. I'm not sure what you can do for top esports. We said that this was a matter of scaling and execution. Well, I don't think scale is even going to come into this one. We're 20 minutes in, and OMG are just flattening top esports in the fights.
They need to approach it better. I just think it's that simple, especially when you have something like a set. Oh, that's a Herald going down bot. Yeah, and why not? Shanji's just going to be able to push up with this. Probably wouldn't even need the Herald to get this tower, in all honesty. But I will take the charge anyway, and I feel like now someone's going to have to respond to this, whereas OMG are trying to set up that control around Baron. And vision is so important, right? Denying flank opportunities from top esports. If Zhuo can get to the back line and just ult Abel back in, that is potentially a win condition, but it's just vitally important that they deal with these backline carries. And a big aspect of that is the summoners, right? In that last fight, Abel didn't have his flash available. It is back up now. Across the board, we are seeing summoners available, and that really favors OMG, because if you cataclysm Abel and he flashes out, you've lost the fight probably.
Yeah, I feel like we need to see some kind of mechanical outplays now coming out from top esports. Like you're saying, a flank from Zhuo, or maybe Xiaopeng finding a way into the backline, or Zoom getting a Call of the Forge God that just sets everything up. Speaking of Zoom, though, his TP currently on cooldown. Shanji down in that bottom side with him, who has TP available. This could be an opportunity for OMG to try and find some flank TP play, or maybe just try and brute force a Baron or something. Cloud Drake coming up in 5 seconds, so I'm not sure that the Drakes will be a huge priority this game.
Yeah, I think it's still worth picking it up, right? Stacking it up will make a difference. That movement speed can be quite valuable, sort of disengaging from top esports, but I think they just really be careful about approaching the Baron. If you get trapped in the pit, that is really an opportunity for top esports to win it out.
Oh, Xiaopeng. Oh, the anchor ruins everything for Xiaopeng. Shockwave used, but they'll take that. That's the jungler down. They already got the Drake because Shanji and Abel get it. OMG, with just 3 players in the area, somehow find a man advantage while also playing the bottom side of the map. Top esports, they're just all over the shop.
Yeah, they seem lost, and Xiaopeng just not able to have the impact, right? This Poppy really shutting him down, but it just feels like he's never really had... He had a couple of early good ganks, and that was about it. And now top esports are trying to look to contest this Baron. OMG will start it up, but they really want the fight here. As much as they have the smite advantage, they don't want to get trapped in the pit.
Look at the minimap. Xiaopeng going to be sprinting his way across the map to try and get involved in this play, but Aki realizes he needs to back away with Call of the Forge God there and Chaos Storm, as well as the Aphelios. You do not want to get caught in that pit. That's not a good place for OMG to fight. They realize it. They back away and understand that they did not have that opportunity. So good presence of mind from OMG, though. Again, I'm consistently impressed by the macro play, like understanding that this is not a situation they can win out. So they're happy with the 6k gold lead that they found for themselves. They'll take that and they'll walk away.
Yeah, honestly, FPX would have started that Baron and thrown the game off it. So respect to OMG for being a little bit more clued up, knowing that is really the way to lose the game, right? From this position, you have this 6,000 just shy of that gold lead. There's no reason to go for the super aggressive plays, and you'll continue to scale well, right? Orianna has sort of double pen items, but also some defensive tools. Jinx now, the threat items that Lord Dominic's will be shredding, and Zoom will feel pretty squishy in comparison. There is obviously the ornaments that will eventually come in for top esports, but I'm not sure if it's necessarily going to be enough for now. OMG just want to push up the waves, try and garner control of that top side of the map, right, around where they have the Baron, and then they can look for picks once again. Xiaopeng is an easy pick in, right, if the Poppy can get in range, and just continue to go for that.
Shanji could be a target. Knight's moving down to the bottom side, but again, we talked about this before. The Aatrox so difficult to catch, and realistically, with an Ornn and a Viktor, it's not a good list of CCs to try and lock an Ornn up. With the Bellows Breath, you can block at least one of the CCs that will come through, and that should allow you to dodge the rest of it. So, I don't know why I'm talking about Bellows Breath. Ornn would be the one ganking. Here we go. Zhuo caught out by Cold, who is more than willing to just pull the trigger every single time. Call of Forge got used, but to no avail. And I mean, just a couple of ultis blasted on either way.
The critical thing is JackeyLove Flash now down and unavailable. Cold really doesn't care about his summoner being burned, but the fact that Aphelios doesn't have his can be critical. So now OMG want to start up the Baron, potentially fish for a fight at the back of this. No Call of Forge God makes this a lot easier.
Yeah, this is going to be tough for top esports as the anchor goes out from Cold once again. Zero regard for his own life. He just wants to get the fight going. Creme positioning the ball. Watch out for the shockwave. If top esports stand in the wrong spot, they could be in massive trouble. Another anchor out as the Baron down to 2k. Keep your eyes on Aki. Can he find the smite? Chaos Storm comes in. Shockwave whisked. It's a sombrero. As OMG have to just back away and accept they cannot get this Baron yet.
Yeah, they have to slow play it right, and I think Xiaopeng made the right call there. Didn't try to go on the pit. He doesn't want to get blocked by Poppy. Oh, Shanji's dead.
Oh, no, he's not. What is that healing from the Godric? He actually survives. Now the re-engage from Aki, and the health bars explode. JackeyLove's gone. Xiaopeng slides out to safety, but Shanji is on the chase. He doesn't want to let them go. There's one knockup. Can they follow up for a little bit more? I don't think it's going to happen, but Zhuo may be caught out anyway. Creme giving a bit of movement speed over to Shanji, but the chains should be dodged away from thanks to the Cloud Rift. Zhuo gets out with his life, but JackeyLove down. It's an opportunity for Baron.
That just reminded me of old Gordon, the amount of healing. I think they're still a bit too low, right? Aki's so low in HP, they don't want to go for the Baron. They don't want to flip it. They don't quite have a good enough control, but I just want to see this again, right? It's the ultimate increased healing combined with the Gordrinky here. It's just insane. Like,
oh my Lord.
1,361.
What?
Man, I thought he was dead, right? I even called it, I said, and I don't think I was wrong to assume, but Shanji just managing to survive there and bring it around, and then JackeyLove caught between an Aatrox in a hard place.
The amount of healing. I think Shanji did more healing in that fight than anyone did damage. Any individual. That was absolutely mental, because it wasn't just the one Gordrinker proc either. Like, the rest of the fight, he goes back down to 0 and back up to half again multiple times. That is just mind-blowing. And that's the power of an Aatrox in a team fight, right? When you got a lot of targets around you, you're basically invincible. And we return to the stalemate once again.
Yeah, and critically, no healing reduction on top esports, right? You only have the Bramble Vest from Zoom, which realistically, the Aatrox isn't really proccing that unless he's autoing you, and he's not really autoing an Ornn in a team fight. So, limited ways of applying that. We see OMG's going to pick up another dragon. Why not? No real downside to it, no real contestation. Get themselves one away from Soul. Obviously, Cloud, lower priority than, say, Chemtech, but still definitely a factor. And when we talk about the Jinx, being able to kite easier, being able to maintain distance better with that extra 10% flat movement speed, definitely does have some value. And that Jinx is very fed at this point of the game. 5,000 gold lead for OMG. Still struggling to get their hands on this Baron, but I think they're playing a patient game, right? Because they're not that concerned. As long as they don't make a mistake, they're pretty fine for this game to keep on going. It's only if they end up, you know, if Abel gets caught out, if Creme oversteps, that's where things could get messy. But for the time being, they look very comfortable.
They certainly do. And I feel like it's not getting any easier for top esports either, because we're seeing these same attempted setups over and over again, where it just kind of gets denied by OMG, and it feels like it's becoming more and more difficult for JackeyLove specifically to operate in these fights. We already talked about the range difference between these AD carries, but ultimately, this OMG composition is not playing into the Aphelios, right? They're playing at range, and that is Aphelios' worst nightmare. And now top esports have to push in once again. Baron already down to half HP as Xiaopeng drops his flag. Will he be able to find the steal? Or OMG actually just get a 50-50. This one looks like it, and it's taken by Abel of all people. Now the fight ensues. Look out for that shockwave as he's just waiting for the opportunity. It's one for Abel already. JackeyLove on the back line. Shockwave comes on through the double for Abel, but now they're trying to turn this one around. Shanji is just completely invincible. Annihilates JackeyLove under his wings. Abel with the triple, and Knight left to wonder what on earth went wrong.
And they're just not able to deal with this Jinx, right? Perfect front to back setup once again. Backline uncontested, able to clean up the kills. And oh my god, Shanji is so strong right now. Able to soak so much damage. And oh, now you might be in trouble.
Nice overstepped on this one, you have to think. But the the gravity field, sorry, keeps him safe. He'll get a blast cone out of there. He's okay. He just desperately wants to clear these waves. But with the Baron buff, it's just not happening.
It just feels like, once again, the backline of OMG super comfortable. And then these front-to-back scenarios, right? Aki so good at just keeping his backline safe. And we'll kind of see a replay. So first off, this great keeper's verdict coming out from the Poppy, knocking Xiaopeng away, so there's no chance for the contest. But then the fight develops, and Abel just free hitting constantly throughout this. So in the meantime, Shanji is just so disruptive. His health bar keeps dropping down and then just flying back up again with the healing. And with no healing reduction, he just isn't able to be taken out. Honestly, getting so much value there. And I think he's obviously performing really well, but also the inability to get on top of this Jinx is really a thorn in top esports side.
I mean, Shanji is just a monster for top to deal with. And then on top of that, when you've got the way that these team fights are working out, honestly, it feels like Xiaopeng is Abel's jungler, right? These Jarvan ults are actually keeping his own team stuck in. So Jinx can just fire these rockets out and the Orianna shockwave can hit. Zoom's in trouble again. Anchor comes on through. The Bellows Breath is going to do nothing. He does not get to move. There's another tower taken. And with the Baron, with the top laner down, this could be an opportunity for OMG to just snowball into a game win. If they find another pick, it could all end here. For now, it'll just be this inhib tower on the bottom side. They're looking for a flank. Zhuo has to find a miracle play if top esports are to stay inside of this game. OMG pushing for the Nexus towers. JackeyLove has red and blue weapons and he's knocked back into the team. Flashes that safety, but he's down! And OMG might just have done it. The shockwave through. Zhuo cannot get back into the fight. Creme flashes to safety. The Chaos Storm can't finish the kills. And it's a 1-for-1 off the end of that last play. The Cataclysm gets one, but Abel's still going strong, and that's all they need. The auto's out. 3 more kills for Abel as he finishes Knight for the Quadra. And that's a win for OMG in style.
Absolutely crushed it. It feels like OMG, we had question marks after the LGD series, and in game 1 they really dispelled them with a very convincing win. Feels like they were on point with the decision making, their macro was better, and when it came to the team fights, they played out exactly as you'd hope them to. Just flawless execution. And yeah, there were some early issues with Creme's laning phase, but man, what a bounce back, right? Really just came back and landed some critical shockwaves consistently. I think it was like 0-3 at one point, or 1-3, and then went to the point where he's just delivering again and again. So just great play from them. And top esports, I don't know what to say. A lot of question marks.
Yeah, I mean, many questions to be asked. It did feel like these fights were incredibly difficult for top esports to pull off of the back of this draft, right? The more we looked at it later on in the game, the more the conversation of scaling kind of went away because both teams scaled well, and it became a matter of execution. It felt like there was no way for them to significantly impact, and it was all down to that Poppy pick. I was surprised to see a Poppy so early on into the draft, but it did wonders to stop Jarvan being able to do anything. It felt like Xiaopeng basically didn't exist later on in the game.
Yeah, and I think the problem was, as much as you have the Ornn who can fire his ultimate, he's not really posing that much immediate threat himself to the backline, right? He'll fire the ultimate, he'll hit Jinx, sure, but the only person really diving was Xiaopeng. And as much as Knight did a ton of damage, I feel like a lot of that was to Shanji, who just healed it back up again, right? And it felt like top esports is just pumping damage in this Aatrox and not really finding much value, whereas Abel would kill Xiaopeng and then start to get resets and start to build up that momentum. And you can see the goal difference was just, it really snowballed in OMG's favor.
On top of that as well, you're mentioning like Zoom's impact in the fights. Well, historically, the reason you'd have that Ornn is that he can be the big meat shield on the front line as well as having that CC. But against the Jinx with a Kraken Slayer, he only lasts 2 seconds. Like, Abel had no issues cutting through Zoom with the front line. So definitely felt like he couldn't have an impact. I completely agree there. And again, Creme. We have to talk about this guy because in the early game, let's be honest, he got destroyed by Knight. He got solo killed in that fight. He got forced out of lane at level 1, like multiple times. Then obviously getting dived by the whole team from top esports. It felt like Creme was not having a good game. Top esports were doing a really good job to punish it. And then suddenly dragon fights happen. Everything flips around and Creme just gets shockwave after shockwave after shockwave, setting his team up beautifully.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, right? Is that the laning advantage was definitely there, but Knight, as much as he did a ton of damage, it really wasn't that instrumental in the win. Whereas the critical shockwaves, like if I could have an Orianna who wins lane or an Orianna who hits big shockwaves, I'd rather have the big shockwaves, because even just a CC alone is such a massive impact, but the damage absolutely there as well. And I think OMG showing that every member really stepping up in this one. And we had criticism for Abel after that Aphelios play. Definitely looked solid on the Jinx here.
Yeah. All of the question marks have been answered for OMG in game number 1, but there's more question marks appearing for the side of Top Esports. We'll see if any of them will have a conclusion right after the break.